Welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, how are you doing? My name's Emma. This is gonna be a super duper chill. I'm just filming this on my phone. TBR for April. I haven't done a TBR video in a really long time. I typically only do these when like I'm feeling it, and for whatever reason this month I am really feeling like doing a TBR. Like I just want to sit down and talk to you about books. So as the sun is kind of setting, I just picked out like a bunch of books that I'm hoping to read and finish in April. I know this is going up a little bit into April, but feeling ambitious, feeling doable. I'm in the biggest reading mood. So here it is. I have a few others beside me as well. So let's talk about some books. I also just got this guy today. I still haven't named her. So if you have a name, please leave name suggestions down below. So far in my head I've got like Crabella or that's all I've got. I've really just got Crabella, but she's here. Okay, so the books that I need to finish, number one priority in April is David Copperfield. I have been struggling with this for a really long time. You guys know I've been reading this since March, like March 1st. I'm currently 496 pages through. You guys know I really haven't been enjoying this. I'm really surprised because David Copperfield is probably the Dickens novel that is the most, I think it's the most autobiographical of his life, but for some reason I'm not jiving with it at all. Like I did books like Dombey and Son, Great Expectations, even Oliver Twist. I don't know, I'm just finding that Dickens' writing style has really changed since Dombey and Son. This is about David. He grows up, and I think what I'm really not enjoying is that it's just so samey. Because I've read and because I'm reading Dickens chronologically, so many of his books follow the exact same things to the point where you know what's going to happen, you know who the characters are. A lot of them arrive on the scene fully fixated in their position with no room to grow. This one is no different because you follow David from childhood. He's narrating his life, he's narrating growing up. The first question he asks the reader is, hey, am I the hero of my own life, or will that station be fulfilled by someone else? And these pages have to show if I'm going to be the hero of my own life. So far it's just a lot of like really sad moments because he's trying to find a home. He is an orphan, of course, and he is being mistreated by a bunch of people. He's getting shipped to different places, running away from other places, making relationships, friends. There are some very iconic characters in here, but I honestly don't care about any of them except for probably David's aunt and Steerforth. Steerforth is really growing on me. 500 pages through and I honestly wish it would be over is the sentiment I'm currently having, which is rough. So excited to get into this, especially because I loved Dombey and Son, but for whatever reason David Copperfield is not giving me any enjoyment, any life, any good things. So that was the first one I need to finish. I've switched over to the audiobook. This copy I just got thrifted a few years ago, so if there's one thing, I think I keep asking this, but if there's one thing that you love about David Copperfield that if you're reading it right now, if you've already read it, please leave it down below so I can like try to see what the people who are enjoying it are seeing, because I'm not. That is David Copperfield. Okay, the next book that I need to start that I actually haven't started is Catcher in the Rye. It's J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. I just acquired this copy, and this is the book that we'll be reading, you know, for April. David Copperfield was for March, but I'm just gonna end up reading them side by side, which should be fun. This one is much shorter, and I'm actually finding myself really excited to start Catcher in the Rye, like so much more so than Dickens, especially because this is only like 230 pages. I already chose a beautiful bookmark, and this one is about Calcifer. It's not about Calcifer. This one is about, I think, just an angry young teenager. And the first page says, if you really want to hear about it, ... you'll probably want to hear all of that David Copperfield kind of crap. I have no idea what this book has in store, so that is Catcher in the Rye. And our live show for this one will be at the end of April. So I better get my butt started on this one. It's Emma from the future. Now, I may not be able to foresee how many books I can read in a month, but thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Keen, I did do my first ever tarot card reading, which is something I've always wanted to do, always been really curious about it, and I got to talk about my nostalgia, deep heartache for nature. Tarot session made me consider like, hey, what are you doing with the nature in your home? And the answer is not cultivating it. You guys know I had a glorious like home garden, but since moving to the big city, just felt so symbolic, and I'm like, wow, I need to get back to cultivating the nature in my own home. I've always been very interested in tarot as like just a new way to get a new perspective on something in a way that maybe your everyday life normally wouldn't. So if you want to try a reading like I did on Keen, it's super easy to start. What you have to do is create an account, and you're able to choose from so many different readers. You can connect to your reader through phone or chat. As a new customer on Keen, you can try your first 10 minutes for only $1.99, which is up to $99 in savings. If this is something you've been curious about or just want to try out, you can feel free to head to trykeen.com/Emmy, or you can click the link in my description. Other random books, let me just clear out and talk to you about the two that I'm in the middle of. So one of them I am almost done, probably gonna finish this like today or tomorrow actually, and that is Blindness. It's Saramago's Blindness. This is so haunting, so terrifying. It's been so affecting to the point where like I'm in the biggest mood right now to read very wholesome, happy, uplifting romance, fantasy, just something nice and wholesome and happy is the mood I'm in, and kind of none of these books are giving me that. So we need to fit some books out of this TBR that are just nice, wholesome, and happy. And I don't have that many happy, wholesome books on my shelves. So I did finally place, to give you an update, I did finally place my book depository order like last night or a couple nights ago. So Blindness, though, is not a happy, wholesome book by any means. It's about this epidemic of white blindness. So people start to just see bright, blinding white. So everyone in the world starts to go blind, and eventually you follow a group of 7 people. So the way that Saramago writes is so, I don't know, like it's just so gripping. It's the kind of book that I was not expecting to get into, but the minute I picked it up, I found it very hard to put down. I'm listening to this on audiobook, which has been so great. I like keep wanting to listen to it and just like keep devouring the story, find out what happens, because as soon as like the people in power learn that everyone is kind of going blind and that it's spreading like a contagion, they start to take very extreme measures. I'm loving this so much. I'm also reading this for Portugal for my Around the World reading challenge, which I will have a video, like an update video coming soon, because I know you guys have been asking for that. So I would highly recommend, but it is very affecting. It deals with a lot. There's so much to talk about, so much to think about in this book that is just incredible. Like so much of it is like talking about the horrors of our modern life, talking about modernity, talking about society as a whole, and it's just, yeah, I'm really into it. I was not expecting to like Blindness as much as I am, but I'm very much just so, oh my god, I just feel it in my chest a little bit. So I'm 266 pages through, so yeah, like I said, this one will be finished up probably before tomorrow actually. So that is Blindness. I'm thinking I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Really happy that I picked this up this month, and this was also a gift from Myra, so thank you so much for sending this my way. The book that I'm in the middle of, I never want it to end, but I do need it to end because I need to read this for my thesis, and it's going brilliantly. I'm so happy that I'm going to be able to use it because, as you can see, you can probably see the tabs, all of the tabs. Yeah, I'm just having the best time ever with this, and this is Murakami's Dance, Dance, Dance. I am obsessed with this. Like, this might be my new favorite Murakami book. It might be. You can read this out of order, even though it is kind of technically the last book in a series, but you don't have to read the series, and you know, you can read them whenever you want. This follows a guy who is just so passive. He's our unnamed narrator, and he kind of just lets things happen to him. But at 34 years old now in Dance, 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 he's kind of like, where did my life go? What have I done with it? What am I doing? Where am I going? Like, he's very just unhappy, feeling really lost. And he starts to have these dreams about this place called the Dolphin Hotel, which is a hotel that he stayed in 4 years prior to the start of this book with this girl that he met. He's just been having dreams about the Dolphin Hotel and like feels that someone is calling out to him from the depths of the hotel. So eventually he books time off of work and goes all the way to Sapporo to stay at the hotel, but he finds out that the Dolphin Hotel has changed. It's really changed. It's a whole completely different place. This book is a lot about what Murakami keeps calling advanced capitalism. This was published in the mid-80s, I think, and it is very much about like this 34-year-old guy reminiscing. Mostly, I think, reminiscing about late 60s and 70s, and now dealing with this like modernist, ultra boosted, like very sleek chrome, machine learning, kind of just like the 80s, the boom of the, I think, late 80s, if I'm not mistaken, 1988, and him just kind of being like, what is happening? And the hotel is such a big part in all of this. So if you know Murakami, you know that a lot of this is just vibes. It's just going with the flow. Things just happen. Like, for example, we just had one whole chapter about him driving around Tokyo in a car listening to music, and that was the whole chapter. And I'm like obsessed with it. It does have its problems, absolutely. They're not new problems to Murakami. If you know, you know. But I'm trying to ignore that and just have the best time ever. And there's so much that I want to talk about, as you can see. So Dance 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 might be 4 or 5 stars, haven't decided yet. And I have a couple of books for school. So the first one, which one am I going to read first? I think I'm going to read this one first, and that is The Rez Sisters by Thompson Highway. This one is actually a play. Freaking love how shiny it is. I don't know too much about this, except that I think it revolves around a very high stakes bingo game. Like, I think a lot of this is about bingo. It's a portrayal of 7 women from a reserve attempting to beat the odds by winning at bingo. That is The Rez Sisters. I will be reading that one. And then this one I actually already had on my shelf, and that is Clarice Lispector's Hour of the Star. Very excited, very excited. Very short as well. I've only read Agua Viva by Lispector, so very much looking forward to trying out another one of her works. Living the slums of Rio and eking out a living as a typist, Macabea loves movies, Coca-Cola, and her philandering rat of a boyfriend. She would like to be Marilyn Monroe, but she is ugly, underfed, sickly, and unloved. She has no future and no sense of who she is. For her, reality is too enormous to grasp. So it's about her, but someone else is like telling her story and narrating her story, because I think it's someone who's like watching her from maybe the apartment next door, I think. Also, can we just take a moment? Clarice Lispector is like, she's just absolutely stunning. Oh my god. Anyway, okay, so that's Hour of the Star. I'm just over here crushing on Clarice Lispector. Okay, and then the other book that I really want to get to, because I've had this checked out of the library for a very long time, is Corridors: Passages of Modernity by Roger Luckhurst. This is just going to be for my thesis. Well, actually, I checked out of the library before I knew I was ever doing a thesis, so it was just going to be for fun, but now I'm probably going to use this as part of my thesis. So this is just a study about hallways and spaces that we walk through, spaces that aren't destinations, spaces that we just get to get to other spaces, and what function they have. Just talking everything about corridors, hallways. I think it's fascinating. I am so excited for this one. So that is that guy. And then I do have a couple of audiobooks in right now that I'm almost certain I'm going to be reading. I'm kind of really hoping that these are going to be the wholesome reads that I'm looking for. So the first one is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This one has been making the rounds recently, and when I saw it on audio, I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. I kind of considered buying it, but I'm like, let's just test it out from the library first, see if I even like it. So this one is what it describes as a low stakes fantasy, very low stakes fantasy, and that's all I want, because that's one of the main reasons I read fantasy, is just to pretend I own a little tavern. Like, I am that person who plays medieval lo-fi music at the end of the night when I'm cleaning my kitchen, to pretend that I'm shutting down my tavern for the day and closing shop so I can reopen tomorrow and serve all of the little orcs and ogres and elves who come my way. So Legends and Lattes sounds like it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be me in my kitchen playing medieval lo-fi, cleaning my mugs out, because this follows, I think, an ogre who opens a coffee shop in a fantasy land, and that's it. I just want the vibes. I just want a good, wholesome time. I don't want any like stereotypical chosen one, high stakes adventure. I want goddamn peace and quiet. The second book that I have in on audio is So Happy For You. Forget who this is by, but I heard about this from Olivia at Olivia Reads a Latte, and like she started talking about it a long time ago. But I was like, I want to read this so badly. And when it came in on audio, I was like, I'm in the mood for this, because it's kind of one of those like creepy, contemporary focusing issue books that I'm very interested. Like, think other books I've enjoyed that are kind of in this realm that are kind of the same to me is Leave the World Behind, Disaster Tourist, Yeah, I don't know. So Happy for You is about like wedding culture and weddings. It's kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like a comedy horror type of vibe, because from what I remember, it's about, I think, like a bridesmaid at someone's wedding, and it just talks about how absurd and how much money goes into weddings and spendings, and like how crazy, if you think about it, like weddings and marriage is. So I'm all here for it. I am all here for it. I forget if this is like part thriller or anything like that, but I don't even care. I'm just gonna give So Happy for You a shot and hope that it lives up to my expectations. I don't really have too many going in. I'm just hoping it's going to talk about, in a very veiled fashion, weddings and marriage. I'm desperately craving just fantasy and fantasy romance. So I have one on my Kindle, and then I pulled out God's Grave. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm just feeling in the mood for God's Grave. I never have hardcover books, so this one's really nice. But this is the second book in the Nevernight Chronicles, and I think I read the first Nevernight book like a year ago. Really loved it. I ate that up so much. One of the most entertaining, like, you can't put it down books probably of last year for me. But I waited, I don't know why, I waited a whole other year to pick up the second book, so I don't know if I'm gonna listen to the audio for this one, although I did really like the audiobook for the first one. But this is about a girl named Mia, and we're set in a very Roman-inspired world where people and the government, they're just so cutthroat, so power-hungry, and she's dealing with the grief, the tragedy, and the consequences of essentially those in power destroying her entire family, like murdering her father and just ripping apart the rest of her family. So she decides, because she survives, that she wants to get revenge on the whole system. And so she takes herself off to the Red Church, which is a school for assassins. You kind of like have to survive in order to graduate and then become a member proper, and then, you know, you get access to different things. So good, so fun. I love the way this is written. I really do. Sometimes I struggle with Jay Kristoff, but in Nevernight, I think his style is perfectly married to the content. I love the narrator because it's not narrated by Mia, I don't think, and I also love the footnotes. There's so many footnotes about the world. I love it. It works for me, and I'm a little bit obsessed with it. So if I have time to pick up God's Grave this month, I will. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I just really wanted to put this somewhere and be like, Emma, just read it. I opened my Kindle, which I haven't done for weeks at this point, and I realized I was in the middle of a book that I kind of forgot about, and that is, oh, where'd it go? It's called Bride of the Shadow King by Olivia Mercedes. I don't know where I heard about this from. I only got 7% into it, but I was kind of liking it. I don't know anything about it. Those are kind of like the two nice fantasies, along with Legends and Lattes. Is my Hesitant April TBR. I'm in the biggest, I'm like back to loving reading. Not that I wasn't, but I'm just in the absolute biggest reading mood ever. So let me know what you're reading. Until my next video, that's when I'll see you. Thank you so much to Keen once again for sponsoring today's video, and ciao.